Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome back for everyone who's been here before, and if you're unfamiliar with the channel, welcome. My name is Leo, for those of you who don't know, and once again we find ourselves on top of a mountain somewhere in southern West Virginia, southern Appalachia, on top of a mountain, looking for an old grave to tell you guys a story. It looks pretty wild, doesn't it? Looks pretty wild. This is the Markham Cemetery. I'm just outside of Delbarton, West Virginia. It's right down this way, just a little bit. But we have a story today for you about a young man and an ill-fated hunting trip. And I think before we get into it, I think, you know, a lot of people have, you know, the concept of hunting, you know, misunderstood. You know, you've heard the saying that it's a way of life. And I think that's true. You know, a lot of people, I think, misunderstand that to mean it's a cultural thing. But I think it meant literally, you know, it was a literal thing. It was a way of living, a way of life. You see, back before the Walmart deli was invented, you know, before that was a thing. If you lived anywhere in the country, you know, if you didn't live in New York City or Chicago or some other major metropolitan area, you probably hunted for at least some percentage of your food. And, you know, it was a good thing. You know, if you were lucky, you had someone in your family who was a pretty good hunter. You know, it was just the realities of life. You know, I can remember Mom talking about stuff like that, and we were talking about cows one time, and just kind of connected in my mind that what she said. She said, if you didn't have a cow, you had to buy milk, and it was expensive. If you had a cow, you sold milk, and milk was expensive. And she smiled on that last part. Kind of drive the point home. That's what we're talking about today. That's why I've come out here. These three graves here, those two, and this one right here in particular. We'll get a little close up, try to get out of the light. Pete Staten Jr, 1908 to 1950. Says, peace be with you on the side, Father. Now I'm gonna sit down over here out of the way. Got me a nice little log here, already waiting on me. Well, got lucky today. Have me a comfy seat already here. Now, before I get into it, we got an email a while back from a viewer asking us to do this very story, and today we are here. As I just showed you, it's about a man named Pete Staten, who spent his life in the coal fields here near Williamson, West Virginia, working in the coal mines for the Puritan Coal Company. Now, he had lived there about 12 years in a place where the hills, the work, and the people were all tied together. Now, he was born on February 28th in 1902, and on my birthday, as a matter of fact, here in Delbarton, West Virginia, the son of Malachi Kai Staten and Peggy Smith, who I also will be taking some documentation of today because she's listed incorrectly. She's shown as being in Metter, West Virginia, and here. But that's her stone right over there. I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, Pete was married to a lady named Dorothy Childress, and together they had several children. On October 14th in 1950, on the first day of squirrel season, opening day, Pete went hunting here on the hillside above his home near Lincoln City, near the Markham Cemetery, where we are today, as a matter of fact, right in this very area. What Pete didn't know was that another man named John Maynard was hunting in the very same woods that day. Now, according to the report, neither man knew that the other man was there. Maynard heard a noise and brush and believed it was a squirrel. He fired his shotgun. The blast struck Pete. He was hit by shotgun pellets with wounds reported to his chest and stomach. Badly injured, he called out for help. An ambulance was brought in and he was taken to the Williamson Memorial Hospital for treatment. Doctors worked to save him, but his injuries were too severe. For several days, Pete remained under medical care, fighting to recover. But complications followed. On October 19th in 1950, Pete Staten died in Williamson Memorial Hospital, and the official cause of death was listed as pulmonary embolism resulting from the injuries that he had suffered from the gunshot. Sheriff's Deputy Riley Varney stated that no charges were filed against John Maynard, as the investigation had determined that the shooting was accidental. Pete Staten was 47 years old at the time that the accident happened. On October 22nd, 1950, he was laid to rest here at the Markham Cemetery, not far from the very hillside where he had gone hunting just days before, and where that single shot in the woods ended his life. We found his wife Dorothy's headstone listed on Find a Grave with a picture, but the question now was Pete laid beside of her, and you see there was no listing for Pete until we made one, and certainly no picture of his stone. So today we'll take care of that. Is she with here? Is she here? We don't see her yet, but I will do a little bit of looking around. And, you know, just things happen, but just an accident, you know, not paying attention. One moment of not paying attention out here in the woods hunting. Hear a little noise. Hey, that sounds like a squirrel. And the next thing you know, it's a strange story. You hear about them from time to time, you know, hunting accidents and things like that. But it doesn't make it any better, you know. It was a tragic accident nonetheless. You know, a young father was taken from his family forever, you know, just because of a simple little thing, hearing a sound. But I guess it's a pretty place to rest, I suppose. It's way out in the country and way up on a hillside. There's a little windy road that comes down here, US 52. This is actually one of the windiest little roads around. But it's a nice little place, I suppose. It's as good as any, I suppose. But unfortunately, I guess we've done just about all we can do here today. You know, we can't undo what happened. We can't make Pete's life change or end any better, any differently. But we can bring you guys out here, and we can introduce you to Pete. I started to say show you his grave, but I think I like introduce you to Pete much better. So I guess with all that said, guys, I suppose we will get out of here, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Jess Willard Evans, 1915-1967. Just for the record, there's Malachi's grave, and here's Peggy's. Just for the record. We now know, don't we?